Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at 6.6b, which is going to be called equations of geometric sequences. As you can see here in front of us, this is the equation that we will use for the geometric sequences. So let's talk a little bit about what all of these things mean. So first of all, this right here is going to be your answer. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. The next thing we have to dissect is this right here. That is going to be the value of the first term of the sequence, whatever you're dealing with. Okay, and then the last thing that we need to know is R. Okay, and that is your common ratio, or your pattern. And if it's a percentage, it needs to be written in decimal format. And then the n minus 1, that is an exponent. And that needs to stay there, okay? And whatever the nth term is that you're looking for, you will substitute it in place of n if you're calculating. So let's go ahead and get into a few of these. So this says write an equation for the nth term of the geometric sequence. All right, so I am going to go ahead and rewrite my formula. So I have a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1 power. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and figure out all of those things. Now what I notice here is that a sub 10 right here, that's this, okay? So we want to figure out the 10th term. And one other thing we need to maybe denote is that this 10 right here, that's n. Okay, so that's going to be important. Okay, so let's remember those things. First of all, we need to see if we can figure out a pattern. So what is going on here between these numbers? Now I'm thinking that 12 divided by 2 is 6. And it looks like if we multiply by 6, then we're going to have our pattern. So I'm thinking that R is 6. Okay? Next thing. Do we know what A sub 1 is? A sub 1 is going to be your first term. It's 2. And then the last thing we need to know is what is n? N is 10. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and substitute everything into that formula in the correct location. Okay, so here we go. So if I want to find the 10th term, then a sub 1 is 2. That's the first term of the sequence. Times r, which is 6. Now some people do this, just put it in parentheses. And then the exponent is a 10. So it's 10 minus 1, which we think about, that's actually 9, isn't it? So I could just write a 9. Now let's go ahead and figure out what this is. So now I think we need to take our calculator out and type that exponential equation. 2 times 6. So I'll just use parentheses to denote that. Use your exponent key. And I get a pretty darn big number, right? So this is going to be 20155,392. Knowing that we put commas every three numbers. So if this sequence continued out, multiplying by 6 out to the 10th term, it would be 20 million 20,155,392. Okay, let's try another one. So remember, we've got our formula. So I'm going to rewrite it here. Okay, and let's see if we can figure out every part of that in whatever order you want to. So I might just go through this in the order in which it's established. So a sub 1, that's my first term. Okay? Next thing, what's R? What is R? Let's see, can we figure this out? What's it look like the pattern is? 25 divided by -5? I think we are multiplying by -5 each time. Okay? And then finally, what is N? It's a 7. Now let's take all that information, let's substitute it into the formula and see if we can come up with an answer. So the value of the 7th term is the first term times the pattern, which is coincidentally the same number, raised to the 7 minus 1, which we know is 6. So we might as well just write that as a 6. So let's see, what is that answer? So let's go to our calculator and let's try this out. So it'll be -5 times -5, use your exponent key, 6 power, -78,125. All right, there we go. Now let's see if we can do that for a problem like this. Now this is a sequence. It's just written in table form, but it definitely is a sequence. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to rewrite my formula again to help me out. All right. Let's see if we can find all this information. What is the first term? Here it is. Okay. Next thing, can we find the common ratio? Can you tell? What are we doing as we go from one number to the next? Now, if you can't, it's kind of big numbers. I can tell what that is because they're off by multiples of 10, but I'm going to take 764 and divide it by 7,640. Remember, that's a little trick you can always use. 0.1. Okay, so that means that I'm multiplying by 0.1 in each case. Next thing, what is the value of n? And it is the same directions as the problem above. So we want to know the 7th term. Well, let's go ahead and go to it here. So the value of the 7th term will be the first number, which is 7640, times our common ratio 0.1 to the 7 minus 1, which we know is just a 6. So let's see, what is the value of the 7th term? Go to our calculator. 7640 times 0.1, exponent key, 6 power, and there you have it, 0.00764. And you look at your table of values, imagine that you extended down to the 7th term. That makes sense. There would be something like that. Now let's see what else we have. Okay, so this is different. This is just review. Notice this says it's an arithmetic sequence. So the question is, do you remember how to do this? Well, let's go back in time a little bit. So what we established was that if it's an arithmetic sequence, it's actually the equation of a line. So the number one thing I want to do is I want to try to figure out what is the slope. Okay, do you guys remember how to figure out the slope of this? Well, that's the pattern, right? So what is happening as you go from one number to the next? The slope is your number that's added or subtracted over and over again. Can you tell what it is? I can tell. It looks to me like the slope is adding 5 each time. Then the other thing we need to understand is what's b? Now, do you remember that that's the y-intercept? That means that it's that number right there. So if you go backwards one number, can you tell what b would be? That's right, it'd be -8. Basically, subtract 5 from -3 to get there. Now you really essentially have everything you need here. So here's the equation. It's y equals m x and b. But do you also remember that what we do is we actually take these terms out and we use sequence notation? Do you remember that? Oh, that was a mistake. And there you go. There's the answer. So a little bit of review for you.